Hi, welcome back to Frank's Vinyl Review for a special holiday version. This week we're going to talk about my top 9 of 2023. I'm sure you're out there in social media as well, besides YouTube, and you're seeing a lot of top 9 records or top 9 posts, whatever. It's sort of infinite in terms of categories. This week I want to talk about my top 9 records from 2023. And my criteria is not based on how many likes I had, or it's actually based on the criteria of when I looked at all the records that I listened to this year, the records that really sort of impacted me musically and spiritually. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the records that kind of blew me away, if you will. So we're going to jump right into it. The first record, and these records will be in chronological order as I heard them. From 2023, starting off with this really amazing record from Gabor, Jaabo, Dreams. This one came from Vinyl Me Please. Just a really great record, and I was really surprised by this one. I've always been a Gabor, Jaabo fan, and I've heard all his Impulse stuff, and I took a chance at this one because it's not on the Impulse label. Most of his music I've heard is on Impulse. So I was definitely intrigued that this wasn't on the Impulse label, but still this one was on the Modern Harmonic label. But this was a Vinyl Me Please release. So really impressive. And the sessions, this was recorded in August of 1968. And side B in particular really stuck out to me. There's a song called "The Lady in the Moon," just really pretty stuff. So again, I highly recommend this if you're a Vinyl Me Please member. You can probably find a copy eventually as a swap, or they do a lot of re-releases as well. So moving on to the next record for the top 9, 2023, this beautiful Alicecoltrane record. This one was really impressive. This was on the Acoustic Sounds, their jazz series. Just incredible stuff, and I want to give props to the Acoustic Sound series because they've been releasing really great stuff from Impulse, from Verve, and some of their other umbrella labels. Just some really, really impressive stuff, and this was definitely one of the jewels from their project this year. Alicecoltrane, she plays some beautiful harp, and she's got some great company here with Pharoah Saunders, Rashid Ali on drums, Charlie Hayden on bass, and some other folks. But it's got a really world music sound. I mean, her embellishments on the harp, and it's just really, really good. So I highly recommend it. Beautiful pressing, beautiful sleeve. It's got everything. Okay, and the next one, top 9, delasoul, Balloon Mind State. Going back to probably 1993, I listened to a lot of hip hop in high school. delasoul was one of my favorite, still is obviously one of my favorite bands, but back then I listened to 3 Feet High and Rising and delasoul is Dead. And I kind of, I stopped listening to a lot of, was playing a lot of guitar and studying guitar and listening to a lot of guitar music and jazz. And so I stopped listening to a lot of hip hop, including this record. I missed this back when it came out, back in 1993. So, full circle 30 years later, right? 2023, delasoul finally has creative control of their archives, right? All their music. It gets re-released on Spotify and iTunes, all the streaming platforms. So I hit this album hard. I wasn't familiar with this album until this year, and it just, it's amazing. There's a lot of jazz samples. It's the last record they do with Prince Paul. So it's just really, really good. I mean, the skits are great. The skits are actually not on the vinyl. If you find an OG pressing, you'll hear the skits. The skits, obviously they're in the streaming. This is Sans skits, but it's still pretty cool. Just a great album. So yeah, it's exciting. Okay, the next top 9, Medeskimartin and Wood, Friday Afternoon in the Universe. And I was really excited when they announced the reissue of this one and Shackman. And then there was also an RSD release, which which I was luckily I was able to score. But I was really excited about this one. This is one of my favorite Medeskimartin and Wood albums. It's one of the first albums I had of them, you know, back in the day when it was released, back in '95. And one of my favorite songs, "Last Chance to Dance Trance." You know, I used to play along to that, and there's some other great tracks on here. "Shack," which kind of foreshadows the next album, "Shack Man." Just some really good stuff on this one. Chub Sub, which they always played live. I remember, you know, I saw them in Portland, Maine a few times, and they encored with Chub Sub at least, I want to say two times, the 2 times I saw them there. But yeah, just a great record. Okay, so this, the next album, top 9, phish Farmhouse. This was really a pleasant surprise to get this year. You know, really great pressing. It was recorded in the fall of 1999, very early winter 2000, kind of in between their Big Cypress. You know, they played a pretty solid December 1999 tour, and then that led them into Big Cypress, which arguably is one of their best concerts ever. So this was, you know, this album Farmhouse was a big part of that whole, you know, 1999 especially. But the cool thing about this record, I mean, it was recorded up in Trey's barn, and you know, there's a lot of nuance on this record, right? We hear strings, we hear bluegrass musicians, you know, there's quite a few guest musicians. So it's got a lot of variety. It's got some real subtle moments, but it's a really, really nice record. So again, you know, recommend it. Okay, coming in next, we have Donald Byrd, Electric Bird. This came from Blue Note's 313 series. It's a new series. And, you know, I was really impressed with this record. I kind of had an intuition about the record. You know, sometimes you'll see a record and think, man, I know that's going to be good. That's how I felt about this one. You know, the music here, it's like, you know, it's in that sort of Miles Davis, Bitches Brew sort of fusion sound, if you will. A little more subtle. And, you know, I've kind of been up and down with Donald Byrd. Some of his albums I've really enjoyed, others not so much. But I really enjoy this one. And I really hit the mark here with Donald Byrd on this one. And I recommend this one. This is one you can put on over and over. It's great fusion music. And sometimes, you know, it's almost has sort of an ambient feel, if you will. So it's great. I definitely recommend it. Okay, moving on to the next one. Wayneshorter, Schizophrenia. You know, Wayne Shorter passed away in 2023. You know, there was a really good, there's a great documentary on him on Amazon Prime, and I forget the name of it, but it's a great documentary. It's a 3-part series. This came out fairly recently. You know, and the thing about Wayne, and that's why I want to mention it here for this record. You know, he's a great composer, right? Everyone knows he's a great composer. But the thing I love about Wayne is his fiery, I mean, he plays with fire. He's got an attack on his horn. You know, he comes out guns blazing when he's soloing. I mean, he's just so high energy, and he's able to access so much, you know, it's like, so I love that about him. And so like the opening tracks on either side, on side 1, Tom Thumb, it's just high energy. The opening track on side 2, Kryptonite, you know, and I love, you know, like the sleeve is green, and I get sort of this, when I listen to some of these tunes, I have that sort of these green, you know, sort of visuals, if you will. So this is a great record, and I believe it was recorded, March 10th, 1967. So just a great record. I highly recommend it. A crown jewel. I mean, all of Wayne's albums are great. This one definitely is solid. Okay, moving on, top 9, 2023, Big John Patton. I mean, this record, and again, this was a tone poet. You've seen a lot of Blue Note pressings today. Blue Note, you know, they do a great job with their classic vinyl series, their tone poet series, which is where this one came from. Just a great series. These series, you know, tone poet, classic vinyl, and the 313 series. I mean, they're all amazing. So this one, Big John Patton, you know, he plays organ. I love jazz organ, right? I mean, it hits different. This one has a really small lineup, but impressive. Grant Green on the guitar, John Patton on organ, Bobby Hutcherson on vibes, and then Otis Finch on drums. Not really familiar with Otis as much as the other three, but just a powerful little quartet, and they rock. They just, I highly recommend this one, especially if you like organ. I recommend any of John Patton's. I have one other record by him, Oh Baby. I think that was a classic vinyl series release that came out last year, the year before, but this was a great one. Recorded in December of 1965. It's a great record, highly recommended. And then the last record for this year, for the top 9, McCoy Tiner Extensions. And this one is, similar to Alicecoltrane, the record I introduced earlier. She's on this record, along with, again, Wayneshorter, Gary Bartz, Ron Carter on bass, and Elvin Jones on the drums. What a lineup, right? This is like an all-star record, and the music is just really amazing. It's similar to that Alice Coltrane record that I mentioned earlier. It's got, it's jazz. This is acoustic jazz, and it was recorded in February of 1970. So jazz, in a lot of, like the Donald Byrd record, jazz was becoming more fusiony, and more, musicians were experimenting more with electric instruments. The electric guitar was becoming more prominent in jazz. John McLaughlin. But this record is an all acoustic record, right? And there's so much creativity on this record. It's astounding, really. Again, you have Alice Coltrane on her harp, and it's like you get that sort of that world music vibe. But it definitely, it's definitely jazz, and it's powerful. And Ron Carter really sticks out on this. McCoy Tiner, obviously, is playing great. This is just a great record, so I recommend it. It was fairly just released recently, so pretty readily available. So that concludes my top 9 of 2023. I hope you enjoyed listening to that, and please like and subscribe, and feel free to leave in the comments your top 9. I'd love to hear some of the your top 9 records of this year. And stay tuned for our next episode. Happy holidays, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks.